Welcome to another edition of the Giants Huddle podcast brought to you by Citizens, the official bank of the Giants. I am John Schmeelk, joined for the second year in a row by Nate Tice, now of the Football 301 podcast with Charles McDonald. I just grinded through your 2-hour, 15-minute wide receiver podcast this morning
Yeah,
with Matt Harmon. That was a good one. We'll talk about that and a whole lot more. Nate, good to see you, man. How are you?
good to see you as well. I'm really glad to be here. I actually was just funny. I just came across an old mock draft I had from last December, and that's when I first paired Malik Neighbors to the Giants. And it was one of those things where it was like, sometimes, broken clock. Broken clock is right twice a day, but the Neighbors experience has been a lot of fun. Actually, last year's rookie class for the Giants is a lot of fun, so I'm hoping to talk about maybe some more guys that can get this year.
Well, I want to break it down. Where are you at on your big board right now?
I have 74 of 75 guys written up. I have my 75th guy. Literally, that's what I was doing before I just hopped on here. Guys, player 75. Actually, player 75 is written up. I have to write up player 74, which is Jalen Royals, receiver from Utah State.
Okay.
I have my bullet point notes, just have to put in the pros to make it legible. But yeah, updating the top 75. I got the order mostly done. There's a couple tweaks I gotta do, but I'm pretty excited to kind of get that out there and be done with it for a few weeks.
Who's the guy in the top 75 that maybe he didn't deserve it, but you love him so much you had to put him in, and he's getting in there come hell or high water?
Torrey Horton,
Oh, I
receiver
like
from
Torrey
Colorado
Horton.
State.
Okay.
I know. And I am for sure the high guy in him. He's currently 68, but we'll see. But he'll be in that
Ooh.
range once it's all said and done. Yeah, he made my top 75. I just like him. I just think I watched enough of him last year. He made my initial top 50 going into the season. He battled an ACL injury this year, so not a lot of film this year.
Yeah.
But productive, long. He moves a lot like, and I said this on the pod, the Football 301 pod, was that he moves like Devontae Smith. I'm not saying the same skill level, but they have that long-legged build, but they're not stiff.
Yeah.
Like they're actually agile. He was a great punt returner. He has 3 punt return touchdowns, but I like him. He's got length. He's productive. He's got good hands. I actually think his route running is pretty good. And he's skinnier, but I didn't think play strength was an issue as well. I think he's going to be a really nice number 2 for somebody and actually be able to contribute early on. So yeah, Torrey Horton, kind of my high guy.
Yeah, what I like about Horton is that a lot of these big guys, when they get to the top of the route stem, they do have to pitter patter like a lot to get in and out of their breaks. He doesn't have to do that. He's pretty sudden at the top there.
Yes, stuck is the word I always kind of come to. Gets
Yeah.
stuck at the top of his routes. And usually that's the big guy conundrum. Is like, yeah, Mike Williams can dunk on a lot of guys, but don't ask him to break on a single route because there's going to be 5 extra steps. He's going to be a little high on it. And that's actually, even just going to the top of my receiver class is why I like Tataria McMillan from Arizona, is that he's so big, but he's actually smooth and actually can get in and out of his routes. That's why I'm super high on him. He's 3 on my big board. And I just think he's a no-brainer. That's one evaluation process during this draft cycle I've been a little confused by.
Yeah, me too.
Going like, what do you guys know that I don't?
Yeah, and by the way,
And
no one, and I've tried to talk to people in the league too, and no one can give me like a real answer
Correct.
as to why they don't like. Dude, how about a
Correct.
6'3.5" guy that can actually run after the catch? I mean,
I
he's
know.
great after the
and
catch.
catches everything. And he's a big guy that plays big, but which is like, okay, great, good starting point. I actually think he moves really well as far as his long. He's not a home run hitter. I get that.
Who
But
cares?
the thing is, like, getting on base and getting doubles is very valuable too. I don't care if you maybe don't hit 40 home runs, but maybe if you hit 25 and get me 35 doubles, I'm great with that. And get on base at 420, that's great because that he just comes down with everything, contorts his body. I actually think he's a good route runner already. I have no qualms with. I can't believe people think that's a blemish on him. I think he's good. I don't think it's projection at all. I think he's good on breaking routes, which is unbelievable for such a big guy. And also, like, if you're worried about the long speed, say he ran a 4.52 to 4.55, which is kind of being reported. T. Higgins just got paid $30 million, runs a 4.59. It's how you play and it's how you win. And I think he's going to be a number 1 in the league, and I'm just going to stay high on him because
didn't AJ Green run a 4.50? I mean,
that's another one.
It just doesn't matter.
Josh Gordon ran a 4.54.
You have that type of body control. It doesn't matter.
Right.
Now
Exactly.
you're the king of liking the big wide receivers, and then we'll jump to a different spot. So, 2 questions. One, I'll start with this one. Why aren't you as high on Jaden Higgins as other people are?
Isn't that backwards? I've been still. There's just okay. I'm glad I got to talk to Matt Harmon about it because Matt does such deep dives in receivers.
Yeah.
I do my 4 games. He does 8. It's kind of the inverse. And then for quarterbacks, I do my 8, and then he does, 3 to 4. So it's kind of perfect. But with Higgins, man, he's big. He's built like an axe. He has a basketball background. He has good hands. He has very few drops in his career, which shows up when you watch him. There's just something to him or something missing with him as far as how he kind of separates. I also think that while he's a basketball player and he has flashes of high pointing the ball, I actually thought he was sometimes disappointing at the catch point, as far as being able to get knocked away by smaller defenders. And that to me is kind of a little worrisome. And I know he's kind of coming to football a little later. But so was Ted McMillan. But I watch Higgins and there's just a little something just missing. And I wish I had more definitive answer than that, like something to point to. But that's really what I come to, is that he's big, doesn't always play big, not soft. It's just that sometimes the hands aren't strong and he comes away from it. He falls backwards as he's trying to catch the ball, as opposed to jumping up and going and get the rebound. Those guys are a little scary to me, because that's, if you're 6'4", play as 6'4" and play like that. And it's weird that his slot only teammate, Jalen Noel, I'm really high on.
I love him.
I actually think he's better at the catch point than Higgins is, which is, and Noel's got 29-inch arms, got little T-Rex arms. I know Giants fans are like, enough Wendell Robinsons, but it's like Noel has a little more juice than the Robinson's little short arms. But back to Higgins, it's just that I think Matt made a great point where this type of skill set might be a guy that you move in as a power slot role. He can stay off getting pressed, so he doesn't get jammed up and get stuck, even coming off the press, coming off the line of scrimmage. I also think his route running kind of needs a little bit of work. I've been struggling where to actually stack him, because it's a guy. It's like, if you go, like, I totally find someone taking him in the second round. Like, I totally get that. I totally get the skill set. He catches the ball. There's enough good stuff. He's a good athlete. Doesn't totally test to what he tested like.
I agree with that.
He's just got a little stiffness to him, but not bad. He's above the base level I look at. It's just one of those where it's like, what is his calling card other than being big and sometimes not playing that big? So I just have some blemishes with him. He's right around my top 60. I've been trying to figure out where to exactly stack them. I have a kind of a group of receivers. I have this in the same tier, and I'm still trying to figure out which one I prefer. I got 3 more hours until this. I have to file this, so
it's tough, man. Like, I actually think
it's so hard.
I think the day 2 wide receiver class is actually really good, to be honest with you. I think there's a lot of options in there. So there's the last thing on wide receivers. We all learn doing this process every year. We learn new lessons. We figure things out as we go. I go back, like, when I thought about Jaden Daniels last year, I'm like, I don't know if he could throw over the middle. All his production's on slot fades. And Kurt Warner said something to me. He goes, John, don't criticize somebody for not doing something they're not asked to do. And I'm like, you know what? It's a really good point. And I look back and I think I probably held that against Jaden Daniels. So I'm curious. You loved Jalen Polk last year.
Yes.
When you look back at that evaluation, do you think your evaluation was wrong? Do you think the situation was just bad? What did you take out of that with Polk?
I think some of it was situation, absolutely. Because the first month he looked encouraging, of the season, and then everything with the Patriots last year was just like, what is going on with you guys? Bad. No, but I would say I may be valued, and actually Neighbors is actually part of this conversation too, with Roman Dunze, who was Polk's teammate at Washington. I had them, and I talked about this on the receiver pod, is I had them graded exactly the same on my little kind of unofficial scale. It's more of a color coding that I like to use. But I really was trying to always parse that, where I was like, Ndunze is useful. I think he can block. Think he can play inside and out. I think he's strong. I think he does a lot well, but I don't think he's like an exceptional explosive player. I think he's more just like, we were just talking about doubles hitters. But I think he's just useful was the word, but like a supreme useful, maybe a Chris Godwin type.
I agree.
Is really what I thought in Ndunze. And then Neighbors was like, okay, there's a little lack of polish. He has some drops that are frustrating, but the name of the game in the NFL is explosive plays. And Neighbors is a walking, talking explosive play. And it wasn't theory. It wasn't projection. It was like, watch tape and watch how he plays. And then you watch him in the pros and it's like, oh yeah, that's exactly what he plays like. So getting to Polk, I had Jalen Polk and Ladd McConkey, same grade. And I look at the big board, they're stacked right next to each other. I think I wrote them up in the same blurb and just kind of said, hey, it's the flavor you want with these guys. And that is, so it's a long-winded answer to get to, is that I think I have not valued guys that create explosive plays as much, as opposed to I maybe value polish and usefulness a little too much, as opposed to can you generate an explosive play? And I think Polk is a great lesson, but this is something I've just really been marinating on because I think receivers is the hardest position to scout. I think personally, this is just me. I think it's harder than quarterbacks.
Wow.
I always feel pretty good about my quarterback evaluations. Daniels was one I was a little lower on, but rereading it, it's one of those where it's like, man, I should have just trusted some of the other things I saw as opposed to like you, Paul, harping on some of the red flags. But receivers to me is so much about team fit, so much about asks, so much about just your role and everything. But if you can generate explosive plays, no, sorry, this is a better way to put it. I thought Ndunze was more scheme proof and situation proof because of his usefulness, but really the explosive playability might make you more scheme and situation proof.
Okay.
And that's Neighbors and that's other guys. So it's something I've merited on. I'm glad you asked me this because it is something I have really been thinking a lot about because I'm trying to, receivers are just so hard and it's just so much what you value and it's so team dependent. But if I'm just as a neutral national evaluator, I have to realize what translates better just overall and just, make myself look a little better. So it is something I've been really thinking on for
Hey, dude,
years,
look,
really.
we all have misses and mistakes, dude. Don't beat yourself up over it, man. Like, and I feel like the Jalen Noel love is he's like trying to, I'm gonna make this right because that dude can run past people and he
Oh,
can make
no,
explosive
no.
plays.
The player that is for me to like, oh, I'm going to make this right. There's a couple of receivers at the top where I'm just like, oh, this isn't my flavor, but I get why you're going to okay. I get why you guys like this. Like even like Golden, like a little bit,
Right.
Matthew Golden is getting a lot of buzz. I have him as receiver 3. I see him as a first rounder or late first or early second grade, if we're being technical about it, but a guy you take in the top 30 and him and Emeka Ibuka is the exact same thing. It's like, do I take here I am doing it again. I'm valuing the useful guy over the explosive play generator. So
Now, in
I just said
fairness,
that whole thing just
I
to
think
say that
Ibuka has a little bit more pop than Polk did.
he
I
does.
think he does for sure.
He does. He does. Yes. Ibuka is a half tier. I have him grade a half tier better than
Yes.
Polk, but it's the same archetype of player, that Z/power slot, dirty slot player.
So look, you just talked about a wide receiver that is explosive but is not extremely polished, and that's Travis Hunter at the top. I think he's better corner than receiver, but I think if he comes to the Giants, I think he probably play receiver more than corner in his first year. I don't think Brian Dable would let a guy like that not be part of his offense just because he wants to score a lot of points. If you had the choice and you're the Giants and you're sitting there and Abdul Carter staring at you and Travis Hunter staring at you, I don't think this is going to be a realistic situation. I think one of those guys are going to Cleveland. Which guy would you pick and why?
Travis Hunter. It's a team like the Giants where I think it's a true take either. Like where it's like I can make the argument about either. Hunter is the better talent. Carter's interesting to me. I'll start with him. Is that he's 2 on my big board, but it's weird. I don't fully 100% love him. I really, really like him, but there's a lot of blemishes with me that it's like, this could go either way in the NFL. This
Like
could
what?
be
Let me hear him.
okay, is against the run. He can be a little indifferent.
Agreed.
And he can knife inside and go rogue a little too often, which more athletic edges do that. They call them better bees. You better be right when you do that. It's one of my favorite sayings. I love that. It's such an old coach one that I just love. But those guys, I get a little scared because it's like, okay, so you need to go rogue to create plays as opposed to operating in the flow of the defense and just operating your assignment and excelling at that assignment. Okay, so that's a red flag. But he also, as a pass rusher, same thing, can knife inside and leave escape lanes, contain lanes. This is coachable. This is fixable, but it is just a thing that brings up. And I think against the run, I don't think he'll ever be better than an average defender against the run. I don't think
I agree with that.
I think his mindset's not really like that. I think he knows what he's going to get paid to do, which is get after the quarterback. And I think he's going to be really good at that. The player that I've started comparing him to is Clay Matthews, old Packers outside linebacker. Clay Matthews was a linebacker / edge. Kind of teams didn't really know what to do with him as a prospect. Gets drafted in the 20s by the Packers. They make him a full-time pass rusher. He was always a little indifferent against the run. He could get swallowed up by bigger offensive tackles, but he played hard. And he could create some plays by knifing inside, and he was a really good pass rusher, and he could do the spinner stuff off ball, which is, I think, what Carter is going to be a weapon on, which is the stuff where you line up over the center and the guards.
Yep.
But that's why I just have those little knocks on me. I do not throw out the G word about really anybody. the generational term. But the thing about Travis Hunter, who is, I think, definitively the number one player on my big board, is that really, I even talked about on the receiver pod, I view him more as a corner first. I'm with that. But I really do see the 8 to 12 play package plays. And not just when I say package plays, it's not gadget stuff. It's more just, hey, these are the routes that you know, and these are the plays that we're going to call when you're on the field. But he's a mini Randy Moss. Like he's maxed out the athleticism threshold for me for when I grade guys as far as how he plays. There's not many guys you'll ever watch where, I mean, shoot, I gave him the rare, which is the highest I can ever say about anybody's skills, rare ball skills, rare body coordination, excellent athleticism overall, quickness with the ball in his hands. He is a walking, talking, explosive play. He can legit take any screen to the house. And it's not just I'm going to run faster than everybody. He's very fast. He has vision. He has pacing. He has agility. It's exceptional watch. And I know I'm not breaking news to anybody that Travis Hunter is really good at football, but I think that's what I've come to for a team like the Giants or even the Browns. I know they're picking above. It's like, just go with the dude, because Carter, it's like, this is a question. And I'm a guy that prefers trenches first. I go quarterbacks, of course, top position. Then I go pass rusher as my number 2, if we're talking about premium positions. And then I go offensive line. That's how I rank it. Then receiver, then corner. So the fact that I'm saying that receiver / corner is the guy, that's how special he is. And for a team that maybe needs some vibes, I think Hunter can bring a lot of good vibes to a team, because that's just the type of player he is. But he's so much fun to watch. Like, he really is. And the only blemish I have on him is some weight stuff. He's weighed in at 188.
Yep.
And then my other side of the coin of that is that, okay, but if he's not playing 100 snaps a game, he can probably easily gain 5 pounds, and then we're all good. So I am not going to knock this guy that's a rare athlete with rare ball skills just because he's 3 pounds lighter than I prefer. I am even willing to make exceptions sometimes.
The Giants Huddle podcast is brought to you by Citizens, the official bank of the Giants. From game day celebrations to your everyday financial needs, Big Blue fans can get the most out of Citizens. Learn more at citizensbank.com/Giants.
You're ready for a change. Payday comes early with Citizens, so go to that retreat. New you moves to the country. Now you're raising goats and launching a lifestyle brand. Are you ready for all that life brings?
2-part follow-up on Carter. One, I talked to Bruce Feldman yesterday. That's going to air next week for the people that are listening to this. I think right before your episode, actually. And he had a former NFL defensive line coach make the Von Miller comparison with Abdul Carter, which I thought was interesting. And the second part of the question is, how much of those issues with Carter can get mitigated? And you mentioned this. It's only his first year playing the edge, right? He's playing off-ball linebacker, setting the edge and stuff like that you think can get cured with more coaching up at that position.
I absolutely can get coached up. And I'm a little spoiled when I'm talking guys that I think should or are getting talked about as locked top 5, top 10 picks. This actually brings back to the Jane Daniels discussion, is that if you're going top 5, I better not have to squint. I better not have to go like, well, this needs coached up. You better be coming in and being like, okay, we just need a little tweak and we're good here. So that's where I get a little harsh. And so I don't want anyone that's obsessed with Carter. And I think he's a top 5 pick. Like, I do. It's just that's why I want to harp on these things, because that's the difference between being, oh yeah, a good starter and an all pro. And that's what you're drafting a guy top 5 to be an all pro or a Pro Bowler, not just a good starter. Who's I'm trying to think. Is the Giants defensive line coach still Patterson?
Is the Patterson from the Vikings.
My God.
Oh yeah.
Carter will get that. He'll get Patterson will fix that up.
He's a great coach. Great coach.
He's unbelievable. Yeah, no, I know Coach Patterson very well. He coached with
I would imagine from your time with the Vikings, right? Yep.
Yeah. So he was the D-line coach when my dad was the O-line coach way back in the day with the Vikings.
Yeah, he has told us many John Randall stories. Let me tell you, there's been many John Randall stories told. It's awesome.
Oh, I asked him about Jerry Ball.
I've never asked about Jerry Ball.
Ask about Jerry Ball.
Okay.
Jerry Ball is a player. Jerry Ball looks like a player named Jerry Ball. That's all I'll say.
Was Jerry Ball? Did he also play for the Lions as a nose tackle? Is that Jerry Ball, or is that a different Ball?
I believe so. He bounced somewhere else because he went Vikings somewhere else. Vikings.
Trying to remember.
He went Browns. Yeah. Lion. No, you're right. He started with the Lions.
Started with the Lions, right?
Yeah.
You know, I remember that.
SMU.
Tecmo Super Bowl. I think he was the nose tackle for the Lions.
It was 87-92. So yeah, that's yes. Hey man, that's if you want to learn about a sport, play the video game. You want like all my soccer knowledge is from playing video games.
I was only like 11, so Lord knows I'm not like breaking down the tape. But that's for some reason Jerry Ball stuck in my mind.
I know, yeah. But no, but to answer your question, like Giants is a good landing spot for Carter because of the coaching, and Patterson's not gonna, and also there's other guys there. Carter's not going to be the dude if he came to, I mean, New York or Cleveland. Like there's other weapons up front that's going to help him out. Even if they don't take Carter, or Hunter, I'm actually very bullish on the Giants defense this season. I was bullish on them last year. Then I realized, okay, some things can we stop them on 3rd and 12 once?
Well, the problem is that when you're playing like 4 corners that are like 22 years old, you tend to have problems.
Mistakes happen, especially on 3rd down, which are very complicated coverages and very complicated offensive schemes. So
especially in that defensive scheme where, he's trying to disguise things, move guys around, and it did not go well.
I'll come back. I'm going to come back to that take this offseason. I'm still bullish on the Giants defense. We'll figure out the offense, but defense, I really think, has come together, especially with some of those free agent splashes.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. All right, I don't want to spend too much time on the quarterbacks, but as an ex-quarterback, I feel like I need to ask you about him. Cam Ward, I'm going to throw out him. He's got it.
Yeah, he's gone.
Right? How do you see Shedeur Sanders as a former quarterback? Is he closer to the Shuck Dart Milroe tier? Is he closer to the Ward tier? When, if you're in a neutral situation, would you consider selecting him in this draft?
I consider him more what you just mentioned, the second group, Milroe, even for me, Riley Leonard, because I'm the one guy that likes.
I know you love Riley Leonard, man.
It's the one guy, man. The one guy. Hey, Jeremy Fowler came out yesterday and said, hey, the league likes Riley Leonard more than the media and public do. And I was like, damn right they do. I have no idea if they do. But
I am the league.
I am the league. Yeah, exactly. I am the one that knocks. No, but the Shedeur has a lot of red flags. And not only just the sack taking, which I know the offensive line, and man, poor Phil Lodeholt, who was the offensive line coach there, who's now at Mississippi State. I actually thought they had some good rules. It was just, sometimes the talent wasn't there. I also thought the scheme was very wide open. It was like a 7-on-7 passing attack. Yep. There's no attached tight end. Everybody's spread out. They are not running the ball. They are just throwing a bunch of screens. I already mentioned that with Hunter. It was good, but that was their offense. Whenever a quarterback takes a lot of sacks, this was a little blemish with Jaden Daniels last year. It wasn't a little blemish. It was a big blemish because he was such an outlier in that regard. Is okay, if you take a lot of sacks, why? All right. Is it pocket movement? Is it the offensive line? Is it lack of athleticism? And with Colorado and with Shedeur, I think he's just an adequate athlete. Build long speed as he gets going as a scrambler. He's an efficient scrambler. It's just that he's not twitchy. He's not very quick. And okay, so you're not twitchy, you're not very quick. So that means you have to win from the pocket. All right, how do you win from the pocket? All right, first reads there, clean pocket. That ball is great, accurate. He's got some zip on it, tight spiral. He can cut through wind, all that stuff. As soon as he has to get off the first read, as soon as the picture unfolds how he wasn't expecting it, as soon as he just feels a little shakiness in the pocket, things came unraveled. Jane Daniels has some of the one and done reads. That's where I was like, oh, man, I just want to see him progress on some stuff. And he would show it. Sometimes he's bailing backwards in the pocket, but it was like, if this guy's older, hopefully he has more polish. Thing was, Jane Daniels runs a 4.38.
Yeah. Correct. He can run away from everybody.
He can get the edge. And also on top of it, and this is something that was what he played in college, Jaden was very accurate, especially short, intermediate, and he had a quick, consistent throwing style. So boom, boom, can get, if he's know those reads, boom, that ball's getting out, put it on a spot. Watch what he did with Terry McLaurin. I was Shedeur, and there's just so many times where it was like you just mentioned it was more of a college offense. Some of the passing schemes were like day 1, day 2 install for the NFL, which makes sense. Pat Shermer, offensive coordinator. And some of those concepts, and this is what helps being a former quarterback, is that, and knowing some of the concepts, they're half field reads. So meaning, if it's too high, you go to this side. If it's single high, you go to this side. And this is fine. There's a lot of quarterbacks do. There's Dak Prescott still likes these types of concepts. Which is a whole nother conversation. But there's quarterbacks that like these to sprinkle them in because they're nice and easy for the QB, nice, easy to teach. My issue started lying was, okay, I have now watched 6 games of Shedeur. I've seen this dang high-low, what I call wrap, which is the little hitch and whip route with the dig behind it.
Yep. They
500
love
million
throwing that
times.
dig route. They always. Yep.
Always. But the thing was, there was never anticipation. There was never, if that wasn't open or something that got foggy, you have no idea what was about to unfold. There was never a check down. There was never him working to the other side, which was the single high side. He was just basically predetermining, I'm going to the dig side. And again, these are all sliding scale conundrums. So it's, if Shedeur was 20 years old, first, second year starting, I'm willing to wave that away a little bit. Good athlete that doesn't win that way. He's supposed to be a supreme processor. It's to me, it's projection. It's not what he is showing when I watch him on film.
Same for Jackson Dart, by the way. Same deal.
Yes, yes, same for Jackson Dart. I'm not saying all this to say I'm high on Jackson Dart either.
Yeah,
the exact same thing. That's the exact same thing with Jackson Dart. Hey, even worse, probably. But with Shedeur, it's just that okay. So you have what I'll call average tools. What you're not overwhelmingly big. You weigh 212, under 6'2". That's not big. Probably, so that means you're 205 during the season. I would guess you run a 4.8 and change. Okay. Baker Mayfield ran better than that, okay. And he's probably the baseline for like, I'm able to escape the pocket. Like he is the floor. Okay. All right. And then you need work progressing from the pocket and you need work with feel from the pocket. That's day 2 to me. That's not first round. That's not trading up for first round. That's definitely not top 10. I see others have kind of come to this conclusion, but it's just one we'll see on draft night, or draft weekend, I should say. But it's just one of those. There's a lot of blemishes, and I think he's more of a project than he's being made out to be, as far as just work from the pocket without having the tools to really make him exciting. So I don't know. I felt there's a great disconnect. I know a lot of people are talking about personality thing, and this is the line I want to always say is that it's the classic scout line. If Hannibal Lecter ran a 4.3, scouts and coaches would just say he had an eating disorder. Teams do not. I mean, how did Giants get Eli Manning? He threw fit and didn't want to go to the Chargers. They do not care if you're good enough. So I think what happened with the whole conversations about Shedeur is that the evaluators, the GMs, the head coaches, the directors of player personnel, these guys, quarterback coaches, start getting eyeballs and they just went, that's it. As opposed to, oh, this meeting or that, they could care less. Like they could, but that's only going to go so far. If you can play, you can play. So, sure, yeah. Long story short, I view Sanders as a D2 guy, along with about 4 other guys I have in about the same tier. But I consider all those guys the same tier. All the guys you just mentioned, Milroe, Dart, all that stuff. I actually, my little spoiler for my big board is I surprised myself as I put Milroe above Dart. Because I think it's the same argument. I don't love Milroe's film. He's got me sounding like Bill Polian sometimes, but it's just that it's when I watch that and then I watch Dart, it's the same argument. This guy needs time to learn to progress. Once it's one and done, okay, they're off script and they have to get into creation mode. Yeah. I'll take the guy with excellent tools as opposed to good tools. And that's really just that's the argument for me. That's why
I was higher on Milroe, and then I saw him throw in person at the Senior Bowl, and it completely messed me up. I mean, he was
Statue of Liberty.
Dude, he looked like Chuck Knobloch with the yips from like the 1999 Yankees.
He couldn't take neither of them could take a snap either. Dart, I couldn't believe Dart and Milroe had a hype after the Senior Bowl because I was watching. I was like, they can't take a snap.
No,
like what are we
bad.
doing? I know. Yeah, that was weird to me. Not Riley Leonard. I thought he had a good one.
So I have managed to push him back up again because I'm imagining the athleticism. He could be a package player early, and then the arm and the quick release. But anyway,
I compared him to Cordell Stewart. I said,
I think that's a good one.
The upside of Milroe is Cordell Stewart. Cordell Stewart went round 2.
Except he's 220 pounds. That dude could be a running back if you want him to. It's unbelievable.
His vision is, and this is the joke I said about Bill Polian. If people don't know, Bill Polian said Lamar Jackson should play receiver, which I was like hilarious in the moment and still funny now. But Milroe legitimately has excellent running back vision as a runner. Excellent. And that's why I don't want to say like, oh, he has to move positions. I'm just saying that's more how good of a runner he is.
And that raises his floor, right?
Correct. Yes, absolutely. It does. And gives you, we got to throw him out there, whatever. We can get something out of this.
So I spent my morning before I jumped on with you. You were doing your big board. I was trying to sort through round 2 and round 3 edge rushers, Nate. And there is a clump of guys right there. Am I wrong for liking Jack Sawyer more than Tuamalu out of Ohio State?
No, I have them. Because they've been on my radar for now 2 years because I thought they were going to come out last year.
Yeah, so did I.
Like, it's just, I feel like I've watched, I feel like I barely have to watch them now. It was great. I was like, yep, you're the same player that I watched last year. Okay, cool. Here's my write up. Done.
Sawyer's like you took Aiden Hutchinson, but you shrunk him down in like a little mini form. He's so good with his hands. He just wins with his hands all the time.
Sawyer is 46 on my board, and Tuamolo is 47.
Oh,
because I can't help myself, and I didn't realize I did that until I
that's great.
Like started stacking them, and I'm like, and then I'm like trying to find someone to put in between them. I'm like, no, this is it. But I like Sawyer just a little bit more. I know a lot of people are saying, oh, people only watch the college football playoff. It's like, no, I've been watching this freaking guy for several years now. I originally thought of him when I first evaluated him last year I was like, this guy's a Baltimore Raven. Just very like he's a jack of all trades, sorry, forgive the pun. It's just that previously he was an edge. He would do some linebacker stuff. He would move across the formation depending on what they wanted. And I was like, and I thought he was so strong. I thought he was active. Yeah. I thought he fires off the ball. I actually think he's a better athlete and he gets credit for. The length, of course, is going to concern teams. And so that's where his value gets dinged. And I think it shows up, but I thought his hand usage and how strong his hands were and how active he was is why he was able to contribute. I'm not saying this guy's going to be a star or anything, but it's like, if this guy's part of your 3-part edge rope players, of your top 3 edges, I think he just contributes a lot of good snaps. Like he just is a positive winning player. I even wrote, I said he has no singular standout trait, but his ability to line across the front and he can be an interesting skeleton key type player. Yeah. You get pass rush front. Okay, put him here. Hey, we want you to spy the quarterback. You can do that a little bit because I actually think he can run him down. He's a good tackler. I don't know. These guys that just and sorry for swearing, but I always just say, just do. Like, I don't know. These guys are the ones that stick in the league. Even if they pass the athletic thresholds, we're good. And so that's why I went Sawyer. But then Tuamolo, I like too. It's just that he's a pocket pusher. I don't think he's ever going to be a true ace. But you mentioned Aiden Hutchinson for Sawyer as like a shrunk version. I would love like Tuamolo paired with like an Aiden Hutchinson.
Yeah.
More finessey, bendy pass rusher, and then you get the pocket pusher.
He's just long and powerful. He's long and powerful. That's what he is.
He knows what he is.
Yep.
Everybody knows what he does. Everybody knows his fastball's coming. Can you stop the fastball? Can you hit the fastball? That's what he is. I like him. He's rugged, decent athlete, but yeah, plays the run and pass equally well. Again, neither of these guys are going to be 10 sack guys, but Tuamolo can be a 6-8 sack guy and play good against the run as well. It's just, it's a flavor thing as well, but I like both of them. I really do.
So I showed up at the Senior Bowl. I had not watched the UCLA linebacker, Oladejo Femi. And yeah, I was wowed by him at the Senior Bowl. I'm on the field watching those edge rushing snaps and just his size and his strength, the ferocity he played with. No one could block him. He was really, really good. Then I went back and I watched the tape, and I'm like, this does not look like the same guy that I watched at the Senior Bowl. I didn't think the tape kind of matched. How do you sort through a guy that, much like Abdul Carter, it's his first year there. You could tell he has no clue what he's doing on these pass rush moves. Like his hand usage is terrible. Like he doesn't know what he's doing with his hands. I think I saw 2 rip moves, and that was the extent of his hand usage, a swipe rip. How do you figure out a guy like that who I think has the tools to be really good, but clearly just has so much work left to do?
These are your day 2 dart throws. That's a guy that goes in the second round because the team goes, well, really, he's a 3rd rounder, but he's not going to be there when we pick in the 3rd round. So let's take him in the 2nd round. That's how these things happen. That's why I think there's a couple of guys that would go in the end of the first that I could see that happening, like a Mason Taylor at tight end, where it's just like, oh, he's not going to be there for the 2nd. So let's take him 29th,
He's also very safe. And in a draft where there's guys are all over the place.
Yep.
Taylor's I don't think he's ever going to be a star, but he is a safe player.
Safe has value. And again, safe sometimes always means bad athlete. That's always code for that. Taylor is safe and he's a great athlete. Yeah. It's just that he's well-rounded. Yeah. A balanced player. But I just think any day 2 or any player like that, where it's like, okay, this guy tries, he's got athleticism, but he has no idea what he's doing. Really, that's where character kind of comes in to play in interviews. Is he a hard worker? Why is he kind of raw? Is it, and then you look at does he have bad coaching? I'm not speaking, I don't know UCLA's assistant coaches, but those things too. It's like, did he come to a position late? Like you said. So when a guy has those flashes and has traits that in the weirdest way, that's where the intangibles come in more than maybe a guy that's steady Eddie. Is because that you go, is it just because he doesn't work hard? Has he not been working out? Like, does he love football? Not saying any of these things, but those are the questions come in, because then that's where the projection comes in. This is the high upside of this is Danielle Hunter, which is this guy's a freak and he works his butt off. He has no idea what he's doing. And then he turned into an easy 10-sack guy, defensive player of the year candidate last year, essentially, or, top 5, because he just kept working and he was so young. So that's kind of like, again, you're gauging the whole player profile and all these positions too, like Tyler Shock. The tape is a chunk of the resume, the player profile. That's 70%, but some guys it's 95% because it's so good or so bad, yada, yada. But then you start filling in the rest of the profile to, medicals, character, all that, to fill it all out. And then that's how you kind of gauge them. But it's a sweet science. It really is.
You love turf. You're good at it. So you start a turf biz. Business grows, your savings grow. Become the most celebrated name in turf. Are you ready for all that life brings?
We're in the Hackensack Meridian Health podcast studio. Keep getting better. Nate Tice joining us from Yahoo Sports, Football 301 podcast. You love talking about the big men on the offensive line, Nate. Giants pick at 34. I think they could use a guard. I also think they could use a guy with some tackle flex, because I think Andrew Thomas has been hurt so much. If you have to move Illuminor to left tackle, you want someone that can step in at right tackle. Anybody in that 34 spot, I do think you get a drop-off pretty quick at the tackle position in this draft. Guards, I think, go a little bit deeper. Who do you think could that you like that could be there at 34 that could help the Giants' offensive line?
If we got this maybe before Combine, it would have been Gray Zabel from North Dakota State. But I know he doesn't really have tackle flex. He may be in a pinch, but he's a guard center type. But I think he's going to be gone. Donovan Jackson from Ohio State would be the guy. I'm super high on him. He's in my top 30. I think he's a guard. But the fact that his tackle tape when he had a bump out there because of Josh Simmons was actually solid, especially as he kind of developed. But I think he's a dynamite guard. I have him over Tyler Booker, who I know some people are high on, because I just think Booker's very scheme dependent.
Yes, power player. Yep.
Yeah, power player. Some offenses are going to love him. Some are never even going to talk to him. But, a guy like Jackson makes a lot of sense. He's got power. He's got athletic ability. He's got plenty of experience as well. Played in a good winning program as well. I've heard good things about him as a character. He's long, that matters too. He can play tackle in a pinch, but he's got 32-inch arms. No, actually has length that you can maybe do it in the pinch. So Jackson is a guy that would make total sense. I think that's his range, somewhere 26, 35, 36. So that's kind of his range. And I think that'd be a great fit for them. Kelvin Banks, if he falls that far, but I don't think he will, would be another one. And then if you're throwing a guy I'm super high on, it would be Marcus Mabel from Purdue.
He can move. He's a good athlete. Whew.
Yep. He's a guard. I don't think he can play tackle at all, but I think he's a really good athlete. He's got cool hand usage. Not going to be for everybody. But actually more people liked him than maybe I thought. I have him at 33 on my board. But I'm definitely the high guy. I think he's in the 60s on the consensus.
Similar question, defensive tackle around that same spot. Giants want to try to put someone next to Dexter Lawrence.
You can kind of do anything next to Dexter. They've been trying to do some beef, haven't they? I know he's the nose because they have Nunez
Roches. They've done. They had Ashawn Robinson there 2 years ago. That actually worked well, stopping the run.
Yeah, because to me, Dexter Lawrence is just such a unique player. That's he's a nose, and he's big and burly, but he's like a gap shooter in the weirdest way.
If on early downs you want to put him at the 3 technique, you're fine. Like that, you're fine.
That's where I was kind of getting at, is that maybe the defensive tackle you want with him is kind of like a burly guy, like a brawler. Like that is really Tyleik Williams, another Ohio State guy. That's one. That's the exact range. Early second is where I think he goes. He's probably not going to give you a lot of pass rush juice.
Yep.
But he's a good athlete, actually. He moves well. But that guy is gonna eat up blocks.
He reminds me of Dalvin Tomlinson, a former Giant, to be honest with you.
Yes, that is a great comparison for him. But he's a good athlete where it's like he's not a non-factor against the rush, but you're not asking him to get 6 sacks. He'll throw in a couple. But that's a guy. Walter Nolan might be gone before then. He's a super, super athletic player, very inconsistent. Not exactly my type of flavor. I have him in my 30s on my big board, but he honestly could go in the teens. It's just his teams are all over the place with him. So that'd be another one too. But he'd be a different type of flavor, a little more dynamic. I would love to put him with Patterson actually, because that'd be actually be a coach that can maybe get the most out of him. So Nolan would be another one I'll throw out there.
I jumped off the edge already. I should ask you, do you have a favorite edge in that kind of second group once you get past the Abdul Carter, Mike, or maybe you don't have Michael Williams that high? I don't know what you think about these guys. Who are your favorite edge guys?
I do have Michael Williams pretty high. I end up giving Mike Green. So it was, Abdul Carter's edge 1 and then Mike Green's edge 2, just because the sack upside. He's 11th on my big board, actually.
Nice.
Yeah, just guys it's hard to find guys that can bend like that. You mentioned the Von Miller thing. He's kind of a Diet Coke Von Miller to me. Some concerns about the size, but plays really hard, tries against the run. He's going to have issues getting overwhelmed against the run. Like it's different than Carter. Carter sometimes it's like he's indifferent. Green's going to try. It's just that physically he can't do it. He has tiny hands and shorter arms.
No, he really dropped his shoulder against some guys in the run game on that tape, man. Like he tries to set. He tries.
Yes, and he's short yardage. He's trying to knife in there and make some big plays. Like this type of skill set is just like this. These are the guys that get sacks. Like that's why it looks so different than the other guys you're watching. And so I'm betting on that upside. I like him in the teens somewhere. There's some character stuff, but like the teams I talked to are like kind of shrugged at it. Like, so I'm, I don't want to talk anything about it, but it's just like, that's also has to be part of his package, part of his player profile. Yeah. But right behind him at 12 is Michael Williams from Georgia. I think he's going to be an A, maybe even an A+ run defender. And I think no matter what, that's his floor. I also like, he battled injuries this year. I understand like wasn't the most overwhelming tester as far as 40s, but I think he's explosive and in a phone booth in a 5-yard area. He can burst to the ball and make plays. I also think the thing with Michael, these two I keep going back and forth on who I like better, but because they're just different types of edges.
Of course.
The thing with Michael is he just doesn't have any bad plays. Like, you might not have the most exceptional plays sometimes, but there's not bad out there. Like, his worst is okay. Like, okay, he didn't make the play, but he didn't get moved off the point. He didn't get the sack, but guess what? He pushed the tackle back a couple of yards. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't the greatest play you've ever seen. To me, that he's 20 years old, a freak. I think a very good athlete. I know the speed wasn't there, but I think he's going to jump really well once he does the jumps. I don't know that, and plays hard. Everyone loves him. Long. That's the guy. I don't know. I just think his floor is high for a 20-year-old that has ability to maybe get more as a pass rusher. That's a profile I'd bet on. Like that, for in the weirdest way, he feels safe to me. In the weirdest way. Even though I know there's some projection with him, because I just watch him. I'm like, this guy is not a bad, like there's no bad on here on top of having a lot of good out there. And I already can see a path to being a good starter, which is that he's going to be dynamite against the run. So if you're an A against the run and you start as a C against the pass, but we even get that to B-, oh yeah, we're cooking. Like that's a very good player. So I'm really high on Michael, if you can't tell.
Everyone I have on, I have to ask about the running backs because there's so many good ones and so many different flavors. Everyone has a different one that's their favorite. It doesn't have to be the guy number 1 on your board. Just give me the guy that Nate Tice loves to watch at the running back position in this class.
Oh yeah, and I'm definitely high on him. Devin Neal from Kansas. I'm a sucker for him. I think I'm keeping him in my top 50. I'm the only one probably in the world that has it. I have him same grade as, so, and this type fit in this running back class is more than any other position. There's a lot of good ones. I think I have 10 or 11 with 3rd round grades or better. Which to me is you're either a starter full blown, taking the majority shares of a room, or you are a 50-50 guy,
Yeah, right now I have 11 and I think I have a couple more guys that still need to watch.
I would say there's like 2 or 3 more that I'm like a half step, like I could easily see going that people are higher on than me. Right. Like RJ Harvey is probably a guy I'm lower on than other people. I just don't see it with him. But talking about good, Devin Neal actually reminds me of a more juiced up Devin Singletary. And also a pint-sized version. He's not that small. He's like 5'9", 212, but a smaller version of David Montgomery. But that archetype of player, shifty, really good vision. I think doesn't have long speed. He tested like that, but I'm not concerned by it because again, I use this term a lot with other positions, but he's a doubles hitter to me. And another guy that just doesn't have any bad on his tape. He's a good pass protector. He's got good hands. Doesn't have a lot of negative runs. He's always getting the most efficient runs and can get a little more. He can make one guy miss consistently. I don't know. I thought Neal was one of the easiest evals, and I feel like I feel like John Travolta meme in Pulp Fiction, where I'm looking around the room going like, what am I get that he's not the fastest guy, but like this is a good running back with production. And he's supposed to be a great kid too. So
Yeah.
I have him and Travion Henderson right next to each other. But the thing is, I love Henderson. It's just that I think his role in the NFL is not a true starter. It's he's gonna have to split it just like he did in college. I think everyone's in agreement with this, but this is where how I just value guys. I think he is going to be an excellent pass protector, and he's going to be able to take the ball to the house. That is value. Don't like him running between the tackles. I think his vision, he tries to bounce things a little too much, but I just really like him. But I just want to use that as a way that I have Neal ahead of Henderson. I think Henderson's more talented, but the role in the league is Neal is going to be, to me, an innings eater, a guy that can get 15 touches a game, while Henderson, I think, is more of a sprinkle in 50-50 guy. But yeah, Neal, and then the other one would be Damian Martinez, running back from Miami. No nonsense. I think he has good vision, tempoing. I think he's a monster on gap runs because of his tempoing and his vision. Not a magnet for contact, but he's a bruiser. Like some bruisers, like Javonte Williams, it's like, oh, he breaks a lot of tackles. It's like, yeah, he runs towards a lot of tackles too. Damian Martinez actually has vision to kind of stay away from stuff, which I really like. And just can make a guy miss with shiftiness, or he can run him over, and he always just falls forward. So yeah, Damian Martinez is another guy. I think I had him in my top 60. I don't know. He's another guy I've just been like, I think this is an easy eval. What am I missing here? But yeah, so Martinez and Neal are kind of my guys of this running back class.
All right, final question. We got 2 minutes. You can go this any direction you want. Who's Nate Tice's favorite guy to watch in this class? Any position guy that you just love and you think you like more than everybody else?
I mean, more than anybody else, I was gonna say Ashton Genty, but
I think that's pretty universal.
Okay, yeah, I know. All right, Jahad Campbell's another one of those. But if I'm gonna have to spice it up, it has to be an offensive lineman, and that's Josh Carnley Jr., tackle from Oregon. Who
I have a first-round grade on him. I like him too.
I do. He is. I give him a nice healthy bump. I've had him in the top 30 throughout this whole starting mid-season, or no, before the season, I had him in my top 50. Like in the late 30s, 40s, because I was like, okay, there's some talent here. He's got a lot to clean up, yada yada. Then I did my updated big board at Halloween. He made my top 30, and I want to say that was when I first planted that flag. Guy just rapidly improved this year. And moves like a legit left tackle in the NFL. Developed his play strength throughout the season, which was my big concern. Still a little bit of a concern, but that's maybe his big blemish. But he's young. He's a true junior, big recruit, former running back, which you can see. Just great feet. His foot, I know. And the guy he moves like, but I think this guy's better. And I've said this multiple times. He moves like Marshall Newhouse, but he is a better version of that, because Marshall just always had typewriter feet. Like it got him in trouble because he wouldn't get a lot of weight behind it. Connerly gets some weight behind it, and his technique really improved like throughout this year. And that's made me very bullish on him. I have him as a top 20 player. I have him at 18, I think. Yeah, 18 on my board. And the thing was, I was going to be the high guy on him. Then I did my offensive line preview show, and I had my dad on, former line coach Mike Tice, and it's his O-lineman 1, and he just takes all the freaking all my hot take, all my big moment I was going to have. This guy's way up there, higher than anybody, and he goes, no, he's my number 1 guy, period. And like it made me feel a little better that because we had no discussions beforehand. I gave him some film to watch, and I was like, just tell me what you think. We'll do a show. And I was really excited to hear that, because I was all right, good. And then after we did that show, a couple teams reached out and told me to shut up about Connerly. It just said, hey, keep it down, keep it down, and pick it into 20s. That's the hint I'll say. So very nice. I'm very high on Connerly, kind of one of my guys. I have him as offensive lineman 3 overall behind Membow and Campbell. But I think if he ends up being the best tackle of this group, I would not be shocked, because I think this is a true starting left tackle in the NFL.
So, Nate, you mentioned your big board is dropping soon. We've talked about the 301 podcast. Anything else fans should keep their eyes on that you have coming out?
Big board. Yeah. Football 301. We're doing a draft show. Yahoo is,
Nice.
during the draft. Yeah. So we'll be doing that from LA, not from Green Bay, doing it from LA. But looking forward to that. But yeah, big board coming up. I got a bunch of profiles and quarterbacks and some other guys. I did tight ends, Colson Loveland and Tyler Warren last week. I ended up liking Loveland more, which shocked me. But no, just check it out. Yahoo, all at Yahoo.
Yeah, and by the way, I think I'm being swayed on Loveland too. Surprisingly, better blocker than Warren, which I don't think a lot of people like to talk about. But
Yes.
I
Yes, I know. I think there's some narrative scouting that happened, and
Warren
I
should
felt
be
that
the better blocker. He's just not when you watch.
he's just nuts. I know it. That was one I'm shocked at myself because I was like, I am glad I did this article because I watched him. I had like 2 games on him during the season. That's what I usually do during the season, and then the offseason it goes position by position. Got to the tight ends. I'm like, all right, might as well let's write an article about this because I'm actually interested. I watched Loveland. I'm like, he has more potential as a Y than Warren does. And everyone's saying Warren's like a little mini Gronk, and he's more like Dallas Clark. I really like Warren. Don't get me wrong. Top 20 player for me, easy. I think 14.
Mini armed Gronk, maybe.
Yes. Yes. And people are like, you didn't say this before the combine. It's like, it shows up on tape. That's why I'm saying it. Just because in the Penn State coaches, they knew they would hide him. They would put him on zone runs and away from the point of attack. And some of that's to keep him fresh for receiving, but some of that is just because why would they have the younger tight end do the harder blocks as opposed to the guy that's supposed to be a mini Gronk? It makes me sound like I don't like Warren. Again, really like him. I just think Loveland is a dynamic receiver, is younger, and has potential to block in line. And I think that his film blocking in line was way better than it's been made out to be. Like he looked like a Y. Having said that, I really like Theo Johnson for the Giants. So
So do they. So that's good.
I'm bullish on him. And even last year when I was high on him, everyone goes, well, Warren's supposed to be the better one. I'm like, this is 84. This guy can roll a little bit. This guy's big and can run. And then he blew up the combine, right, or his pro day. And everyone's like, oh, wow. It's like, yeah, that's what he looks like. So
Nate, always a pleasure, man. This was fun. Good luck with the rest of the process, and we'll talk again soon, all right?
Thanks again, John.
Nate Tice, Yahoo Sports Football 301 podcast and the Giants Huddle podcast brought to you by Citizens, the official bank of the Giants. From the Hackensack Marina Hill podcast studio, keep getting better. We'll see you next time, everybody.